Abusua Ghana Mampani His Excellency John Mahama ena asrafo ene ni security edi na chi a womode no ewura pia mu ha no na Takoradi na they've made in another first of its kind the 2026 local content summit womo edehye so Takoradi eda wakopie mu ase na okopie mu ase a na nanu disemu a wode tudwa wa kire mu senia aya won etu asase mu agudie omko kuro bi so no mu kotu a omkoto kuro no omhwe ansa no mbefiri ho na kuro no mama na tumpon achen ne yete no na ne nkasa emu ene wo kire Oman Ghana ade a eye gold a yetu ewo fom no anasa gudie etu ne fom no ewo saa gudie ede mfaso bebre ene bre Oman Ghana enu nti na hwe a gold board for dani ani na gold jewelry for nso no gold board jewelry for nso adani ani ama yesika kokko no aka Oman Ghana mu ansa kra ye betimi a export ya nsese raw materials no na yedi etu kwan ede ko obi manso abrochiro mu a emfio ha eda yanim no ewo se yehu se yasase mu agudi a yetu Oman Ghana mu no aboa yen papa ordinary sem etudwa ensem no de wo kan bebre abusua ha Ghana News TV so no ani gwa ahwe medin ene nana sefa ahwe bobo mese o se ne ndedi kan aba ahwe me na wa subscribe na wa share video yi e de amame abusua se wo send this cafe amano ne abo Oman Ghana mu abo mo de an down the LemFi si a ne bo news shemu na saa no womo eche bonus ronko ewo ho bo news shemu pe wombeche usika sanso ena the more I was send this cafe US Canada Europe be bia de abo Oman Ghana mu amana beto nipa no mobile money account mu anasa ne bank account mu no womo ebeche wo emfaso bebre instant so abusia download na efe di nkwi yenko nyenhwe na yensa ntie ne course ewo ho na wia wa share comment or comment box no mu ase ono wa share video enso e de amame.
It's a privilege for me to join you here in the beautiful capital of the Western region, Takoradi, for this historic maiden mining local content summit. I wish to extend a special welcome to our international partners who have traveled from other parts of the country to be part of this defining conversation, our captains of the mining industry, the Chamber of Mines. I wish to welcome all of you to this summit. For over a century or more, mining has been the backbone of Ghana's economy. From Obuasi to Takwa, from Bibiani to Nangodi, from Awaso to the emerging lithium belts of Awoya, mineral wealth has shaped our fiscal landscape and funded our national development. Yet we must confront an uncomfortable truth. While Ghana is Africa's leading gold producer and amongst the top 6 globally, much of the high-value activity in our mining value chain, advanced engineering, processing, equipment manufacturing, technical services, and refining still takes place outside our borders. In 2023 alone, the extractive sector generated almost $6.6 billion in export revenues. However, local participation in high-value segments remains very limited, with domestic procurements accounting for only a fraction of the total sectoral spend. We've been prolific producers, but we have not yet become full participants in the extractive value chain. This summit is about closing that gap. As we deliberate, we must ask ourselves a fundamental question. What will be the true legacy of Ghana's vast mineral wealth 100 years from now? Will it be recorded only in export statistics and royalty payments? Or it will be remembered as the foundation upon which we build world-class industries, thriving Ghanaian enterprises, and resilient mining communities? This question must serve as our compass. to offer us direction. And we're not alone on this journey. Many other African countries are asking the same question. And many other countries in the world are asking the same question. In Botswana, they've leveraged strategic partnerships to ensure value retention and citizen participation in their diamond sector. In Chile, they've transformed their copper wealth and advantage into a gold mining technology ecosystem. Indonesia mandated domestic processing of nickel and thereby repositioning themselves at the center of the global electric vehicle battery supply chain. The lesson is clear. Smart, enforceable, and forward-looking local content policies do not deter investment. They create sustainable competitiveness. The key is balance. Such policies must be both ambitious and practical. They must be firm, but also performance-based. They must be focused not merely on percentage targets, but on measurable capacity development outcomes. Today, I wish to outline 5 strategic pillars that will guide our approach to local content. The first is that local content must evolve from transactional procurements to transformational partnerships. This government is reviewing and refining our mining legislation and regulatory frameworks to ensure that Ghanaian enterprises move up the mining value chain, from suppliers of consumables to manufacturers of critical components, from service providers to innovators. We'll incentivize mining firms to build local capacity and not simply purchase locally. Equity participation, technology transfer, and knowledge sharing must become standard practice and not the exception. The second pillar, it is no longer acceptable for Ghana to continue to export raw ores and import finished products. We must aim to eliminate raw ore exports within the next 5 years. We must support the establishment of refineries and bullion infrastructure. We must promote mineral-based industrial clusters. We must facilitate downstream processing of our bauxite, manganese, and lithium. We must align our mining strategy with the global green energy transition. Our mineral wealth must power Ghana's industrialization, not merely sustain export dependence. And the third, competitive without a skilled workforce. And so we will strengthen institutions such as UMAT and our technical universities. We'll deepen apprenticeship programs in collaboration with the mining industry. We'll prioritize skills in automation and robotics, drone and modern exploration technologies, data analytics, environmental sustainability, and renewable energy integration. We must train not only miners, but also mining technologists, engineers, and innovators. The fourth, the future of mining is digital, sustainable, and technology-driven. And therefore, Ghana must become a hub for AI-assisted exploration, for IoT-enabled asset management, for blockchain-based supply chain transparency, and for local R&D, Ghana-specific mining challenges. We'll explore establishing a national mining innovation and research hub to institutionalize knowledge sharing and technology adaptation. And so this summit must mark the beginning of a structured ecosystem and not a one-off event. The fifth is indigenous participation in the mining sector. The government will encourage and support the indigenous Ghanaian private sector to scale up from just mining subcontracting to full ownership of world-class mining operations. We note the current development of the Black Volta Gold Project by the indigenous Ghanaian company, Engineers and Planners Limited. This is the first mining project of such scale being undertaken by a wholly owned Ghanaian company. When operational, this project is expected to produce about 170,000 ounces of gold a year over a mine life of over 15 years or more. The sixth, responsible and community-centered mining. Local content cannot be separated from responsible mining. We're strengthening development agreements and community engagement under the revised minerals and mining framework. Traditional authorities and MMDCs will continue to play a decisive role in monitoring compliance and safeguarding community interest. Mining must leave our communities better than it found them. We'll continue the fight against illegal gold mining and work to formalize the artisanal and small-scale mining sectors. We'll increase our efforts to clean our water bodies and reclaim the lands that have been mined out. Ladies and gentlemen, Nana Chairman, this is a shared responsibility. The government cannot achieve this transformation alone. To Ghanaian entrepreneurs, the bar for quality and innovation is high, but the opportunity is unprecedented. And so you must prepare, you must build partnerships, and you must compete. To our international investors, Ghana offers you stability, policy clarity, and long-term partnerships. But we expect genuine collaboration that embeds capacity within our economy. To the regulators and policymakers, enforcement must be consistent, transparent, and fair. What will be the legacy of our mineral wealth 100 years from now? If we get this right, our greatest export will not be raw gold, raw bauxite, raw manganese ores, or lithium. Our greatest export will be Ghanaian talent, Ghanaian technology, Ghanaian enterprise, and a resilient and competitive mining economy. And so this Maiden Mining Local Content Summit must deliver more than just declarations. It must deliver a binding commitment, a shared national pact that makes our mining industry thrive. So, ladies and gentlemen, the work begins now. And it is a charge to all partners, our Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, our Minerals Commission, and all industry players. Let's leave this summit determined to build a win-win partnership for all of us. May God bless our endeavors, and may God bless our homeland, Ghana. I thank you.
So send this cafe amanoni aba Africa ha use LemFi. Say ye fear wo pese wo ntono use LemFi. Edan ya na say japade a wani da so a wo pese oto wa Africa ha no use LemFi. Say wo send this sika ama odofo e de aboa no wo Africa ha use LemFi. Sanso e na say wo tie obi school fees ama no a use LemFi. Nyenti a make come for LemFi ama on say utimi send this sika e fa LemFi so a e ma ne begu bank account mu sanso e na timi begu mobile money account mu. Eno achi nso no de bia LemFi e wo daily rate a e ma hu sika dodo a wo sende a wo benya. LemFi e secured na wo send this car enche na nipa wo sende ama no ne nsa aka LemFi wɔ USA, Canada, UK, Italy, Germany, Ireland, Netherlands, Spain, Belgium, Portugal, and France. What the LemFi send this car? Untua hwee. Bomodian dey use me code NEWS news. Na say any day they can register or LemFi so a unya bonus. Sanso and use chance so a ye wo bonuses ahodo a ye de ma.
Things that we hear. Nkrumah said in 1960, the paradox of poverty in the midst of plenty. And of course, our last president made it nicer in Chi, yet so comes in. The Western region cannot keep on sitting on gold and feeling poverty. That's why the mindset has to change. You know, the French refer to Francophone Africa as chasse gardée. They are chopping place. Nobody goes there. You get, recently you had the speech at the European Security Conference that people are looking forward to recolonizing Africa. As far back as 2003, the Heritage Foundation of the United States made a statement, says, Africa is so important, they have to control it. And the same thing with a guy called George Rich, when he was talking to the famous John Perkins. He says, if you control Africa, then your future, the future of your grandchildren is assured. The problem is, who should control Africa? Africans. Who should control Ghana? Ghanaians. The wealth is here, and we should not allow anybody to come and control it. Either the person comes to make his contribution to uplift us or not. And you know, as Africans, we know that our education is not for us. Our education is for us to uplift our communities. If your education is about you, and that is all, then you have been poorly educated. That's a selfish education. Education is for us to uplift our communities. From Nkrumah, we've heard all kinds of things. In fact, recently I heard the Honorable Minister in South Africa talking about, my voice is bad, so please forgive me, talking about the independence of Ghana is meaningless, and they were clapping. Nkrumah made other statements, which are now being made today by His Excellency the President and quite a number of revolutionary African leaders. You can have revolution in democracy if the revolution is to uplift your people. If the democracy is to uplift your people. Inyari said the same, Sir Chakama of Botswana said the same, and so on and so forth. So I've accepted to be here because what you build with your own hands will stand longer, much longer than what is given to you. You sang the national anthem, unfortunately, the first step, directed by the president. I couldn't join you because of my voice. But one thing that you must always be aware of is the second stanza, which we leave out. In fact, I have a little problem with one line in the first stanza. But it says, the second stanza says, "Hail to thy name, O Ghana. To thee we make our solemn vow, steadfast to build together a nation strong in unity, with our gifts of mind and strength of arm, whether night or day, in the midst of storm, in every need, whatever the call may be, to serve Ghana now and evermore." That is what you are here for. Every bit of your being is to take that into consideration. Where do we stand in this? Let's keep hope alive, as Jesse Jackson, who passed on yesterday, said. Interestingly, for those of you who are Protestants, it's today that 18th February that Martin Luther started his revolution against the Catholic Church. Let today make a revolution about mining in Ghana and let the locals benefit from whatsoever is extracted from the area. I mean, sure, on that note, Substitute Chair, thank you. You know, the introductory and African protocols. So, pardon me, my forthcoming mistakes. But this summit is so important that I must do this protocol. Nananum, I think I must give a special mention to a person the chiefs and people love across this region. If I do not do that, they will skin me when we go into chambers. So let me make special mention of Amma Kofibua. Honorable Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. But he is down. The president is my comrade, so he understands. Honorable Ministers of State, if there are any members of Parliament here and members of the Diplomatic Corps, the chair of the Minerals Commission, captains of industries and stakeholders, and I've seen a whole litany of them. If you don't speak right, they'll put you on TikTok. So, friends from the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Akwaba, Monachi, Wajibenyado, hey, you've done well, oh. I was asked to speak at Hunter. Today is a very important day. Today is the day that a section of our population starts the Ramadan. And I think that it coincides well with today because Ramadan is for introspection and self-reflection. So the Ghana Mining, the Minerals Commission is going to do an introspection. But in reality, I was very surprised when I received a letter of invitation from Mr. Isaac Tando, the Chief Executive Officer, with the respect to what I call in Koksa, this maiden Indaba. Unbelievable. This Indaba should be revolutionary. If you are not here for a revolution, then we might as well leave. That was my excitement when I received the call to come and serve this maiden summit on local governments in our mining sector. I recollected Thomas Sankara's statement, you cannot carry out fundamental change without a certain amount of madness. I think the chiefs are all here. We are here to appreciate the madness. To initiate a people-centered change with regard to the mining sector, you must be mad in Ghana. You must be mad for Ghana. This summit must be a groundbreaking one. At this period, we cannot afford intellectual sterility. History is watching us. The mining sector has been a mainstay of the national economy, with a significant contribution to the purse. But you know, the wealth of the land must first feed the children of the land. And that is a proverb our ancestors left for us. It is quite significant that this summit is taking place in the Western region. Sure, you know about Takwa, you know about Pristia, you know about Bogoso, Awoso, and Suta. I could go on. These are not mere geographical locations. They are the pillars of Ghana's economic history. Of course, we may add Obuasi. And yet you go there and you ask yourself, what happened? Was a nuclear bomb thrown into this area? And this is what makes this summit important. And we must all be revolutionaries. Local content in mining refers to participation of Ghanaian individuals. I've seen beautiful addresses in there, so I won't bother going into details. But the third comes in with another adjective that when we manage to change, we'll see that indigenous ownership and participation deepen linkages, reduce capital flight, and builds domestic industrial capacity. So, epede izi igwa fawansa kahu. So it's another proverb. If you want to be in the market and chop the market, you must make sure that your fingers in there. Of course, the communities don't feel that, they don't see that. You know, here, you must, in this special summit, you must define what you mean by investment and define what you mean by exploitation. The two are different. When you invest, then you want to uplift the people, you want to uplift an area as you make your profits. When you exploit, you only after what you take out. They're two different things. So investment means uplifting a people within a geographical area. Coming from the Western region, precisely is Kadu, the only place in Africa with a landmark known as Positive Action Circle. This gathering speaks to a grain of thought anchored deeply in my heart for decades. As my African-centered consciousness developed and I awakened my sense of history about the victim and the victimizer. Following the colonial paradigm, some African governments have replaced the colonizers as victimizers and those they govern as victims. Of course, there seems to be a change coming across Africa. We've seen our own president listen to his speeches. We've heard Mamadou Doumbouya of Guinea. And of course, Traoré has become a household word with the Sahelian revolution. My generation watched Ghana gain independence, only to realize that economic independence was still distant. And that's why we moved on to be a republic. I've sat at meetings at Prestia and so on, and all that you hear them say, the chiefs and people say, Sikano ko, no jehia waha. The gold leaves, but it leaves poverty behind. It cannot go on like this. It cannot go on like this. And that is what makes this maiden summit very important. And the fact that it's not being held anywhere in this country.
Republic of Ghana, John Mahama. Honorable Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakufibwa, Nana Kwabena Nketia, our revered chairman, members of state, members of parliament, members of the diplomatic corps, Nananum, captains of industry, distinguished stakeholders and partners, friends and allies of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Long before this land was called Ghana, it was known to the world as Gold Coast. That name was a declaration of our identity, a testament to the world that lay beneath our feet and flowed through our rivers. In pre-colonial era, our fathers mined this gold with ingenuity, using simple tools, effective methods, trading wisely with merchants who came from far and wide. They were active participants who understood the value of what they had. Then came colonialism, and with it, the extraction began in earnest, not for our benefit, but for theirs. Our gold was shipped out unrefined and sold back to us at prices we could not afford. So even though our people provided the labor, they never owned the wealth and the mines. And yet, we were told we are capable of managing our own affairs. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, 70 years after independence, we must ask ourselves, have we demonstrated that we are capable of managing our own affairs and taking ownership of our mineral resource? We know the truth. Why is it that at this day and age, foreign interests are able to hide behind Ghanaian names to satisfy regulatory requirements whilst retaining the control and all the benefits? Look at the scourge of Galamsey today. More than half of it is as a result of this unfortunate and unethical phenomena. To our Ghanaian brothers and sisters who lend their names to such arrangements, open your eyes. You are not empowering yourself. You are being used to disempower your own people? Why do we sell? Why do we still see very minimal and no equity stake in Ghanaian mining projects on our own soil? We watch companies extract billions in value, whilst our people hold little for more than the promise of employment. Why do we grant mining lease spanning decades, 15 years, 20 years, even 30 years, locking our resources into arrangements that outlie government, outlie policies, outlies the meaningful benefits of our communities? Why do we still have minimal local participation in the industry that powers our economy? Yes, we've made gains. The Chamber of Mine reports indicate that some companies now employ up to 40% of their workforce in the local communities, and we commend that. But employment is not the same as ownership. Labor is not the same as control. Our people are working in the mines, agreed, but they do not own these mines. The answer to these questions, Mr. President, are the reason why your vision is not just important, but empirical. In your research agenda, you gave us a clear mandate, ensure that Ghanaians own, participate, benefit from our mineral wealth. You reminded us that the resources God deposited in our soil were not meant to enrich foreign lands, but to build our infrastructure. Under the dynamic and decisive leadership of our sector minister, Honorable Amakufibua, a man who has thought it wise to convene all stakeholders here today to share ideas on how to empower Ghanaians, build local capacity, and empower our economy, the Minerals Commission has run with this vision. Let me share with you what have been done in just a little over 12 months. With the minister's guidance, today we can report that we have revoked over 300 small-scale mining licenses that were fraudulently acquired, and those that were held by persons who had no business holding them. This was not a political exercise, but a professional one with all due process followed. For far too long, certain provisions of our mining laws existed only on paper. One such provision is the role of the district mining committees, which under the law must make recommendations before a license is issued. Under the leadership of the minister, we have operationalized these committees, ensuring that no license is processed without their input. Again, you will recall that the minister announced that we have completed a comprehensive overhaul of the Minerals and Mining Act, Act 703, and the Minerals and Mining Policy 2014. We have introduced legislative instruments that tighten the loose end that have been exploited for years. Revoke LI 2462, which previously permitted mining in the forest reserve. We have also introduced a medium-scale mining license category to fill the gap between small-scale and large-scale, expanding opportunities for responsible Ghanaian miners. We have also proposed sweeping reforms to Stability and Development Agreement. Development agreements are being phased out entirely because they've been abused. We have seen companies use revenues from Ghana to buy mines elsewhere whilst refusing to develop the mines and even pay basic obligation to district assemblies. This cannot continue. We are introducing a new royalty regime that captures more value for the state when prices are high. This is not about punishing the investor, it is about ensuring that when God blesses us with high prices, Ghanaians also share in the blessing. Mr. President, Nana Chairman, this is perhaps the most significant work we have undertaken. We have gone back to the foundation. We have reviewed the policy framework in its entirety. We have examined the Act section by section, clause by clause, including the local content provisions. We are ensuring that the local content is not a compliance checkbox, but a strategic imperative embedded in every mining agreement, every procurement decision, every employment policy. The reform also includes tougher local content rules for in-country procurement and support Ghanaian firms. Your Excellency, Honorable Minister, distinguished stakeholders, on behalf of the Minerals Commission, I want to state clearly and firmly that we are ready. We are ready to run the President's vision. We are ready to implement the reforms under the Minister's leadership. We are ready to enforce the laws with no fear or favor. We are ready to partner genuine investors, those who see Ghana not merely as a destination for extraction, but a partner in progress. We are ready to support Ghanaian entrepreneurs who are willing to invest in their own capacity, professionalize their operations, and meet global standards. We are ready to work with traditional leaders, civil society, local community to ensure that mining delivers tangible benefit to those who bear the environmental and social costs. We are ready to confront those who seek to undermine this vision, whether through fronting or through regulatory evasion or through exploitation of loopholes we are now closing. Your Excellency, thank you for your visionary leadership and your unwavering commitment to the people of Ghana. Honorable Minister, thank you for your decisive action for bringing all of us together under this roof to share ideas and forge partnership. Distinguished stakeholders, thank you for your commitment and for honoring our invitation. Thank you for believing that Ghana can and must do better. Together, let's build a mining sector that our children will be proud of, not just for what we extracted, but for what we built. Not just for the wealth we took, but for the capacity we left behind. God bless Ghana. Income will be going digital. You can work around the globe using our interactive app. Welcome and thank you.
So send this cafe amanoni aba Africa ha use LemFi. Say ye fear wo pese wo ntono use LemFi. Edan ya na say japade a wani da so a wo pese oto Africa ha no use LemFi. So wo send this sika ama odofo e de aboa no wo Africa ha use LemFi. Sanso e na say wo tie obi school fees ama no a use LemFi. Nyenti amekanfo LemFi ama one say utimi send this sika e fa LemFi so a e ma ni begu bank account mu sanso e na timi begu mobile money account mu enu achi nso no de bia LemFi e wo daily rate a e ma hu sika dodo a wo send a wo benya LemFi e secured na wo send this sika enche na nipa a wo send ama no ne nsaka LemFi wo USA, Canada, UK, Italy, Germany, Ireland, Netherlands, Spain, Belgium, Portugal and France. What the LemFi send this sika untu ahwe Bomadian they use me code NEWS news. Na say any day they can register or LemFi so a unya bonus. Sanso and I use to chance so a ye wo bonuses ahodo a ye de ma.
Menu makwekwe asempa kania. Se menam na meti asempa na mo amane a na ma no keka me. Anyam bia what ANS Trading Agency Limited nka. Se wo ka se door to door for no de na e watwa. Esanse obi ne wa wo se wo ho sa door to door business nim. Wo nneoma wo UK a wo de ko Ghana. Ana se Germany a wo de ko Ghana. 3 to 5 weeks e bekwa kodu nipa ne puno anu se try. Na de mo demonstration ko wo se adwuma de ewe mu ne se wo ho bo no. E da form se boko. ANS Trading Agency Limited. E wo air freight special service. Ana nneoma ne ye de befa play. Entintempa na akwa kodu. Obetima fa sa plan we ya so de nneoma free Ghana akwa UK ana Germany. FGG dem which na also agina ye na men drop bomb. ANS Trading Agency Limited pe and a 40 footer any 20 footer container. Ya fe UK ediko Ghana ana Germany ediko Ghana. Omo manuoma ye mere import o export o dem there for you. Omo Ghana na money 0249 170 423. UK has over free 0790 802 7527. Germany 09173 771 2733. Ubenya ANS Trading Agency Limited. Our West Croydon ANS Trading Agency Limited. Quantum Brantam. Wana bebo ya baso. Maybe next time in your fill up from the bebro.